The best definition of marketing I've heard is this. Marketing is best described by the objective it fulfills: to sell more product to more consumers more number of times. This was coined in the 80s by the then Coke CMO, Sergio Zyman. Sergio also went down in history as somebody who launched New Coke. So you see, at that time, Pepsi had gone to town repositioning Coke as a drink for older Americans. And Coke had realized that it had to get a little sweeter to mimic Pepsi's taste. And with a lot of fanfare, they launched New Coke. And the result, and by the way, they tested this amongst 200,000 people who said, hey, listen, we love the taste of New Coke. And the result, one of the most expensive mishaps in marketing history. Coke has never gone public with the amount of money they lost, but apocryphal sources, you can kind of find out. They lost close to about $4 million in development alone and $30 million in Coke concentrate. It was a disaster. The Coke CEO at that time was a gentleman called Roberto Goizetta, and at one point he had a letter delivered to him which said, Chief Dodo, Coco Cola. He said he didn't know which he was more offended by the fact that somebody wrote that letter or by the fact that somebody hand-delivered to him. What went wrong here? Clearly, the respondents had said the taste was really good, so why did it go down? Answers to this, some researchers found out when they introduced clients, when they asked volunteers to be taken through an fMRI machine, and they were told that they were going to consume Coke or they were going to consume Pepsi ahead. So Dr. Reed Montagu, director of the Human Neuroimaging Lab, he was the one who conducted this experiment. And what he found out was very interesting. So whenever the volunteers drank this and their brains were scanned for activity, a center called the ventral putamen lit up. Ventral putamen is the part of the brain which understands taste, which tells you what is tasty and what is not. But in some cases, they found activity in the prefrontal cortex as well. Now, prefrontal cortex is the decision-making center, is the rational part of it, is the executive center of the brain. Now, in between the tug and pull and tussle between the ventral putamen and the prefrontal cortex, all the emotional stuff that Coke stood for, the Cokeness of Coke, the history of Coke being a brand that you grew up as a kid in the US, really stood out. It's a very funny world that we live in right now, because when human beings, we are thinking like brands, and brands are becoming much more human. So being great at your job or being great at your domain is like taste, right? But the experience that you leave behind, the sum of memories, the space that you occupy in between the years of the people that you interact with, that stuff is gold. And that happens when you're really conscious and upskilling on the way you influence other people, the way you lead yourself and other people. Cheers to that.